I didn't get started into Bitcoin until later. But if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's really about Bitcoin, because in there I wrote three things: that rich don't work for money because this stuff is fake. This is fake money. And the rich don't save fake money, you know? And your house is not an asset. So a lot of people think I'm a real estate guy. I said, no, I'm just kind of a hard money guy. And so when I saw Bitcoin came out, it took me, being an old guy, took me a while to catch on to it. So I watched it. It went from like 0 to 20K. Then it retraced down to 1. And I said, oh, it's going to disappear. The damn thing didn't disappear. And so I picked it up at 6,000. And as every Bitcoiner says, I should have bought more.
Everyone says that they should have bought more, but the reality is in 5 or 10 years' time, we could be saying, and we likely will be saying the same for these prices of Bitcoin. But honestly, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show. And we're going to take it back a little bit. So we're going to talk more about money, the mindset, then we're going to get on to Bitcoin. Okay, so you've been teaching people about money for so long now, and your message is arguably more relevant today than ever.
Thank you.
Why do you think Rich Dad Poor Dad has stood the test of time?
Well, I've written a whole bunch of books, some with our President Trump, where people hate him, but he's a good man, He's very pro-Bitcoin, as you know, his whole family,
indeed.
But I got into this stuff because there's this book here. It's called The Creature from Jekyll Island. And you can tell I study a lot, And this is a criminal organization. The Federal Reserve Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, they're criminal organizations. They're Marxists. And they cause people to get poorer. So every time you print money, you print this fake stuff here. Guys like me get richer, but the poor and middle class get poorer. And so that's why this creature from Jekyll Island about the Federal Reserve Bank and the Bank of England and Aussie Bank and all this stuff, they're criminals. They're Marxists. And so I'm very much on what you're doing, Jordan. And we have to educate people because this is toilet paper.
It is indeed. And when you break it down, like you break it down brilliantly in the book, because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad a long time ago, and then as a kid almost, I want to say when I was about 12, 13, 14 maybe, and then I reread it last week, and you're right. Me being like into Bitcoin now, it resonates so much more. But what you're saying in the book is actually so simple. It is looking at the mindset but it's brilliantly put. But when you break it down, you've got assets and you've got liabilities.
Right.
Why do you think that such a simple concept, why do you think that's so hard to understand for so many people? Because people work for that cash that you've got there on the table, but you and I know we wouldn't work for that.
Well, number one is back in 1965, I picked up this thing here. It's a Kennedy $50, and back in 65, this was pure silver. And then a year, it was 64, then 65, he turned it to its side, it was copper. And so I'm a kid, I'm 17, 18 years old, and that was Gresham's law. And Gresham's law says when bad money enters the system, good money goes into hiding. So I naturally started to save the real silver coins. And this is what I finally figured out, Jordan, is that I saved all these silver coins. My mother's going, what are you doing? I'd go to the bank and I'd take in this toilet paper and I would trade it in for, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and I'd go through it. And anything that had copper, I threw it out, because I was following Gresham's law. So I had this big bag of silver, pure silver. And I was going, yay. And I came home one day. I went to school in New York, from Hawaii to New York. And I came home and I asked my mom, I said, what happened to my silver? She goes, oh, I spent it. And Jordan, that was the first, I got it. Poor people are poor because they have no idea what real money is. And so our academic system, my poor dad professors, they indoctrinate and they train kids, young people, even today, to work for fake money. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, and invest in a 401k full of garbage. And so I've been on a warpath, as you know. I'm a lot older than you are, but I'm more on your side of this whole thing. Is you got to get back to real money. And Bitcoin, when it came out, it took me a while to figure it out. Like I bought it at 6,000, and I'm still saying, why didn't you buy more, asshole? But today, I don't have that many. I have about 60 Bitcoin, holes. And I tell everybody, just start with a Satoshi. Just start. But get out of this stuff here. But people don't know the difference between this, and Bitcoin. They don't know real money from fake money. That's why there's so many poor people in the world today. And they're most of them academics, they're professors. So,
Unfortunately, that's true, and a lot of people I know still are in that rat race that you talk about, and just working for that for that money, for
fake
cash, because
for
yeah,
fake. Yeah,
cash was king, or that's what cash was king, I should say.
yeah,
It was that was a common thing for me growing up, anyway. I was told that cash was king. I was given a piggy bank, and you would then save your pounds in that. But soon you realise that cash is actually devaluing it over time, and that's the importance of hard money, as you're talking about.
yeah. Real money, not fake money.
Exactly.
And our academic system, full of these professors, like my poor dad, PhDs, they're brainwashing young people to work for fake money. And I think that, that's criminal. It's actually criminal. I get into a lot of trouble, as you can tell. I'm not on the teacher circuit anywhere in the world. I got
But
Arizona State University kicked me off the campus because I called the teachers a bunch of Marxists for teaching, fake money. The central banks are fake. Central banks are Marxist. By definition, anything central controlled is communists. And so that's what I found out. And so our academic system, you go to school to get a job, to work hard and save money. Are you nuts? Are you freaking nuts? But that's what a school teachers are teaching you.